All right, everybody, welcome to Oceanside Library's Poetry Near and Afar. We're delighted to have Joe Cottonwood joining us from California and Vicki Lorio joining us from New York. This is a series we hold twice a month during the month September through May, where we feature one poet from the New York area and one poet from afar. Both of these fine people have read for us in the past. They both are wonderful. It should be a wonderful evening. For those of you who are participants here, we do have an open mic at the end. Please, please, please keep your open mic poem to a non-epic length poem. And everybody gets one non-epic length poem. If you're not going to read in the open mic, please put that in the chat. And so without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Joe Cottonwood.
Thanks for the welcome. Tony, I've got to say, you are truly, when you're not golfing, you're a very busy man. I credit you for that. You're doing a great job.
Well, thank you. That's mostly because my wife doesn't like me around the house. So that's how that kind of works.
Okay, I'll start off. Get my poetry up here on the screen again. I'll start out with a poem called My Song Americana. And as I'm sure everyone knows, Americana is a genre of music that nobody can define exactly, including myself, but I love it. And my son is a musician in a band, and he plays Americana. Actually, my son was on tour, and he was supposed to play a bunch of folk concerts in North Carolina, which have all been canceled, so he headed back home. But anyway, I guess it's about the music Americana, but it's also about Americana in a broader sense. And that's enough about. Okay. My song, Americana. I come to you barefoot. I chew bluegrass. I drink corn. My rain is muddy water. My hands are raw from picking cotton. My lungs are black with coal. My farm is dust. I follow rivers by raft, herd longhorns by horseback, ride boxcars over endless plain. I killed the native and the buffalo. I regret. I sing of what remains. I am outlaw. I seek justice. I celebrate love. I betray it. I despise the rich. I want riches. I raise children in rags. They outgrow my front porch, my tumble-down shack. I shame them with my twang, my holler of blues. My children trade tractors for Teslas. They bring the South north. They take the West east. My children return with fresh children who throw off shoes, who paddle kayaks, who dive into muddy water and come up clean. That was actually a poem written for Rattle. Read it on a Rattlecast. Okay, here's a love poem. It's called Popcorn, Oil, and Salt. Popcorn, oil, and salt. In movie romance, you know the scene where one strips outer clothes. This is a television movie, and jumps into water, maybe off a cliff into an old quarry. And then the other, finding courage, follows. First, some playful splashes, and then they tread water face to face, droplets beating on brows, and search eyes with caution, with wonder, because in personality, they seem opposites. They kiss once, quickly. Now they check for reaction, and if the actors are good, We see emotions play across faces from uncertainty to delight. And they kiss again, slowly, lingering, while the camera circles. So I set down my bowl of olive-oiled popcorn. Licino oil makes it sweet, fruity, oddly grassy. And say to you, we've never done that. You set down your bowl of garlic salty popcorn because you like it sharp, crisp. And you say, next summer at the lake. After a moment of thought, because you are you, you say, how do they kiss and tread water at the same time? Are they kicking super hard? Don't their feet collide? Quarry water is insanely cold. How does the camera circle around them? On a boat? From a crane? Oh, sorry. Were you about to kiss me? And I say, with popcorn in my teeth, next summer at the lake.
That's funny.
Okay. No reading of mine would be complete without a dog poem. So here's my dog poem. It's called At Last. At last. Dirty dogs with weary paws trot the dry weed hill, plop down beside me with toothy grins, slobbering. One dog with soft gray fur of old hippie beard snorts at my pocket, trace of old doobie. Other dog with fluffy brown of big hair New Jersey woman here on rocky Pacific coast, studiously with warm tongue cleans a scratch on my ankle. When motorcycles approach, both dogs raise hackles, growl. No collars. Feel the ribs. Hungry. I walk. They follow at first, then take the front. They lead. I've been adopted by the mother and father I wish I'd had, so I fry a dinner of turkey burgers to share. They are old. Vet bills will be enormous. I don't care. In this life, you don't choose your spirits. They choose you. So I'll follow that with a poem about my mother. And I disrespected her in that last poem, and I want to apologize for that because she was a wonderful mother. And I had that line that dogs were the mother and father I wish I'd had. Well, I had a great mother. This is called Zoology, a case study. Zoology, a case study. See the soft soul of one chiseled girl in a vast city, Baltimore, surreptitiously tipping books to learn of ovary, sperm, egg, singing in the Episcopal choir. Her beauty is her enemy. She escapes the choir master to a public school, staying late to peer through the one and only microscope. Pursued by boys, men, watching cells replicate, grow, feeling twin passion, a brain for science, a womb for womanhood. A chance for university, scholarship, encouraged by a father of no education. In the Great Depression, she boards the train for biology as a discovery, not a trap. 16 years in St. Louis at a microscope over Drosophila chromosomes, a woman in a man's lab. All the good men go to war. A professor steals credit. Half-starved, doctorate achieved, Japan radioactive, love unleashed, last egg saved. I'm born. Okay, here's a slightly political poem. It's called May 4th, 1970. As you may recall, May 4th, 1970 was the day the Ohio National Guard fired into a crowd of Kent State University students, anti-war demonstrators, and killed 4 of them and wounded 9 more. And I was halfway across the country on my way to Canada when that happened. And this is a poem about that. It's called May 4th, 1970. All our earthly tie-dye rags, plus a mason jar of muddy Mississippi water, because we'll never see that river again. You, me, one dog crammed into a Volkswagen aimed at Vancouver, Canada, for permanent exile. When we hear the news on crackly AM radio, Kent State, 4 dead. A truck stop, Little America. As we walk in, we see jaws clench. Tough crowd. Could be my t-shirt. Stay healthy. Avoid drafts. Waitress, cowgirl boots, red, white, and blue sash on her neck, pours us coffee, 2 cups. I'm so sorry, she says, and glares at a trucker who is flipping us off. You add cream, and it curdles, spoiled. Waitress, without asking, dumps your cup, brings another and fresh cream. My bad, she says. Shit, Ohio, I'm so upset. Sorry. Just that. Fresh cream. A little warmth from a waitress who is doing her job. You touch my hand. We can't go, you say. Future can change so fast. Hours steering east. St. Lou, re-dipping our toes along the cobblestone levee among seagulls and cigarette butts as we pour the mason jar back home. 4 dead. We stay. In kindness, we work for them and that waitress. I'm going to adjust my chair a little bit. If you pardon me a second, it's squeaking, and I don't know whether you can hear it or not. Well, it doesn't seem to want to be adjusted. Okay. I'm a retired contractor. I spent 40 years in the construction trades. I was a plumber, an electrician, a carpenter. And my chair is squeaking more than ever. Here's one I wrote after a day spent on a rooftop where it was about 120 degrees. If you've ever worked on a roof, if it's 90 degrees on the ground, it's 120 on the roof, and you go nuts up there. But out of that nuttiness, this poem just popped into my head. It's called 5 Premium Studs. As you know, studs are 2x4s, the basic building blocks of wood frame houses. 5 premium studs. I went to the lumber yard. I said, if you please, I want 5 premium studs. I want 57 screws because I'm coming unglued. I need 5 premium studs. This ain't no stick-up. Just load my pickup with 5 premium studs. We can hammer all night, build a house of delight, keep it level and true so we don't get sued. If the order's too large, put it on my charge. I need 5 premium studs. That's 5 premium studs. That's all. Now, I have my best friend here in La Honda. By the way, I'm in La Honda. I don't know whether you know that. La Honda, California. My best friend is also a retired contractor, and he's also a poet. His name is Terry Adams. And Terry and I go for walks once a week, every Tuesday. Terry lives in the Ken Kesey cabin. If you've read the electric Kool-Aid acid test or heard about it, Ken Kesey in La Honda sort of well, the school bus, the electric Kool-Aid acid, everything. Um, he had a cabin. This all started in La Honda with Hell's Angels visiting and LSD parties and all kinds of weird stuff. Well, now Terry restored that cabin and lives in it. That's the background for this poem, which is called "If You Grow Older, It Is Your Own Fault." If you grow old, it is your own fault, I say to Terry as we climb the hill behind his cabin. Terry is wearing a device that transmits his heartbeat by cell phone to doctors at Stanford. Terry has a flutter. Nothing serious, probably. Terry has a great heart, actually, warm and wise. We ascend this hill on Tuesdays every week, discussing plumbing and poetry, our twin passions, the gathering of mountain water funneled into pipes, delivered to homes, the ordering of words funneled into pages, delivered by journals, rarely. We hike among redwoods, where Kesey painted his bus, where Cassidy chattered, where Hell's Angels gathered, where Kool-Aid mattered. We speak of friends fallen or falling, the fate of pranksters, the allure of aura. Old hippies is an oxymoron. We are pacifists who walked away from a war that shaped our lives, walked to a dishonorable discharge for honoring conscience. So we hike, hearts pounding, the simple friendship of two old men seeking the hilltop again and again. I know Robert Rubino, if he's still there, is he knows Terry, so I guess he knows what I'm talking about. Well, I'm on the West Coast. I go to the East Coast. I grew up on the East Coast in Maryland, and I spent summers in the Adirondack Mountains, and I still go back there every year. I just came back a couple of weeks ago, and we stay in a cabin that's not far from Vermontville in Franklin County. And if you know the history there, there was an attempt to settle escaped slaves in the Adirondacks, and it pretty much failed, but it was an effort. They gave you give a slave who's been spent his whole life in the deep South and plant him in the Adirondack Mountains, and it's quite a climate shock and a culture shock. Anyway, this is called the history that just fascinates me. This is called Memory of Moss. I guess the other thing that fascinates me about that area, I go hiking in the woods and I'll be tromping through the woods and suddenly there'll be this stone wall and it's completely enclosed in this forest, but somebody obviously built this stone wall. It was obviously once a pasture. And it's just amazing how the land has regrown in the last 100 years. Okay, Memory of Moss. Through dense forest, she guides me to a wall of stones piled waist high, boulders lifted by black hands in a land of white winters. Caleb, a slave, escaped Virginia to the Adirondack Mountains, cleared 40 acres of northern jungle, axing tree, rolling rock, ton upon ton. Caleb, her ancestor. In my whiteness, she wants me to understand. In my infatuation, I try. Caleb scratched out a living no child would choose. Slavery, they said, would be easier. Not better, but warmer and less work. It was family legend, a bitter family joke. Abandoned fields reverted to birch, to maple, then finally to conifer, the natural crop. Boreal rainforest seems untouched if not for this soft-spoken wall. She swears she can hear slice of Caleb's axe, grunt of mule, echoes from a century plus a half. In these crevices, she can sniff smears of his sweat, stains of his blood. Stones break loose, tumble among duff. Roots topple walls, she says, touching my hand. Shooing a lizard, she gathers bits of moss to stack in a jar like little green toupees. We carry back to the dirt road, the SUV, the long, easy drive to the suburbs. Have I used up my 20 minutes? I'm not clear on that.
Let's see. No. I think you're 22. Yeah, you got about another couple of minutes. So
All right, let me do one more.
yeah,
I'll just
sure.
close out with this. It's kind of an Adirondack inspired poem, too. It's called We Thank the Logs. We thank the logs in our wood stove, glowing heat through the night. We thank the candles, quiet flame on our table, giving light. Thank you, water, filling creeks from the sky, sweet rain. Thank you, heart, steady beat, blood to wash each vein. We thank the bread, scent of yeast, freshly warm at the knife. We thank the air, from leaf green to our lungs, for this life. That's it. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you. All right.
Can I say one more thing in
Yeah,
advance?
sure. Please.
I cannot multitask. I can't write comments while I'm listening to other people. So forgive me. Believe me,
Yeah.
I'm listening and enjoying. But
I agree with you. I look at all the comments and I'm always amazes me. It's good stuff. All right. Without any further ado, owner, can we change you?
I don't know. I'd like to change it. I don't know how. Well,
All right. What name would you like?
Vicki Lorio.
Well, no. The reason why I
How?
ask is my daughter Allison, when she was young, said to my wife,
Thank you.
when I get if I get married, do I have to change my name? And she said, no, you don't have to, but you can. And she said, great. I want to be Sarah.
Yeah.
So,
I like
all
it.
right. All right. Vicki, not Sarah. Ladies and gentlemen, our good friend Vicki Iorio. It's all yours.
Thank you, Joe. It was a pleasure reading with you. I'm going to start. I always start with my Zooming poem. Zooming. When I join a Zoom event, everyone looks tired. Some people sleep on their couches. I used to fix my hair for Zoom, take a shower, and put on business casual. Now I just wear my PJs. Who can tell and who gives a damn? Zooming. I Google random things and text my friends. Definition of Zoom. 1, of a car or aircraft moving or traveling very fast. 2, of a camera to change smoothly from a long shot to a close-up or vice versa. On Zoom, we look like the blended family on the Brady Bunch or B-list celebs on Hollywood Squares. I don't have to take a subway or drive to get to an event. I just press a button and I am here. It's like driving with your eyes closed, a sensation that wakes me up at night in a sweat. At any time, I can decide to leave without apology, without crashing. So we're close to Halloween, and I don't have really any scary poems, but I found one or two. The Wax Museum, which in itself is pretty scary. Dad drives the Ford to Coney Island. I am 4 years old. Mom thinks Brooklyn is a dirty planet. She insists my feet do not touch the ground when we leave the sand for the splintered boardwalk and the sticky floor of the Wax Museum. Dad carries me on his strong shoulders. Mom tells me to keep my eyes shut in the waxy cave. Eye level with the life-sized dioramas, the blood-stained rugs. I keep my eyes opened and cannot unsee the autopsy lesson and the hand ripped open, exposing jewels of arteries and veins. The corpse waves his ghost hand at me. I never have good dreams again. Years later, I forget the why of good sleep. Something caresses my pulse points when I drive, read, put on my shoes. Most days I shake it off, breathe deep, pop a Xanax. I meet a friend at MoMA. We find ourselves in a photography exhibit, the Coney Island World of Wax Musée. A skinned hand pulsing with arteries presses on my neck. I cannot breathe. Since we're in hurricane season, back to back, I just realized I have so many hurricane poems because I've been in so many hurricanes. So I said, you know what? That's going to be my topic. So this is the first one. The first group are about Hurricane Sandy. Recipe for a hurricane. At the first rap, get the vodka. It is not a gentle rap like the Ravens. It is damnation. Look for the grenadine before the final flicker. It is there among the dusty bottles left by disappointed exes. Chin up, gin up, floods of stoicism when the water pools around your neck. Grab the Bacardi before it drowns into the carpet bottom. The world is a blue liqueur with stars of angry books dive bombing into the drink. Remember the triple sec. Find a lantern glass among the floaters. Gulp it down in equal parts. So I was in Oceanside near the library, and it was pretty awful. And this one's called The Vocabulary of a Hurricane. Charge deep into this windswept, sandy hurricane. Cross north to south to hurricane. A tantrum of trees fall without permission. A battery of flood cars, rip-outs, tossed liquor bottles, brandy this hurricane. No logic to the damage. Some houses are perfect, candled by television. Others are black eyes. A boat sits on a couch. Modus operandi of this hurricane. And here is Pancho's Cantina, cleaved. Tacos, plates, salad into the street. Blame it on God or nature or just the pure grande of this hurricane. Vicki, an armored mermaid, pumps out seawater and minnows, throws down the gauntlet to this violent, no Gandhi of a hurricane. And I had fish in my basement, big fish, some of them. So it inspired this poem, A Keeper. Because I keep a mermaid in the basement, I wash her delicate sequin pink bra in the bathroom sink, gingerly scrub around her clamshells with a soft toothbrush fresh out of its wrapper. Because I keep a mermaid in the basement, I have not done the work left me by a hurricane. She is a blue flame phosphorescence, illuminating the basement in ways electricity never could. Because I keep a mermaid in the basement, I tell my nosy neighbors I am still waiting for FEMA when they ask about the standing water and the flickering lights. Because I have named the mermaid in my basement Jane Mansfield, I have to rethink my sexuality. Jane flips me her dorsal fin, swims deep, and reads drowned books, learning the language they teach her. I tell her I will buy a wetsuit and take her back to the midnight ocean. So, Joe, I didn't know you were a plumber. I mean, I love plumbers. I had one here today. I had two plumbers here today. And I just want to tell you, I was in California during Hurricane Hillary, which was really not a hurricane. But anyway, so this next poem is about plumbers. Next time around. Because no one needs a poet in a hurricane, I am coming back as a plumber. Everyone will want a piece of me when I arrive at your destruction in a spotless white panel truck armed with a shining toolkit. I will snake out your overflow, auger your inner core, unclog your fears. As I crouch in ass-crack stance, replacing your ballcock, my perfect schism, beribboned in a metallic thong, will make you hopeful. After I dredge the basement, remove fish, I will install red-hot nipples on your gas line, unpeel when I am done, take a hot shower, consider my invoice, my magnum opus, next time around. So now we move to Florida, and these are Florida hurricanes. Irma's eye. Irma, a douche of a hurricane. She makes me evacuate an overflow of scare that does not flush when the water table rides with the tidal surge. We take the cat and flee to the Volusia County Fairgrounds. Two Jews walk into a shelter with beach chairs and a cat. We are there among the kindness of Christians playing guitars and singing how God will save us all. Under sour breath, I whisper, if there were a God, why would this happen? My sister elbows me, reverts to pigland to shut me up. We take the Red Cross coffee and the sleeping bags and hope that Irma is a pussycat. I want to go home to Long Island where I understand the language. The old Key West hippie distracts me with stories of past hurricanes with exotic names. His voice is a poem. His gnarly feet, manly in pink flip-flops, the blonde hairs on his tanned arms are a different planet than his long gray beard. He is the crusher of my wet monster, uncurls the scoliosis of palm trees, and soothes this hell hath fury with the tenderness of his southern charm. Humans in space. SpaceX launched a rocket today. Still rocked by Hurricane Ian, I stay in my kitchen when I hear the thrust, 1 million people having sex in my bedroom. It is not until my sister tells me there are people in the rocket, astronauts, so retro, that I bolt outside with my afternoon tea and look up at the white plume, a zigzag in the sky. One of my neighbors is checking her mailbox. Another is cleaning up after Ian. I go inside and watch the news to confirm there is no tragedy, like the Challenger, which I watched on television in Queens, New York. The sky was gray sorrow. Astronauts died that day. My marriage was dead. My life was a traffic jam on the LIE. I wanted to escape to outer space where the fake air is always as cold as Blockbuster with a hint of microwaved popcorn. A hurricane walks into a bar and sucks up everything without paying the tab. A hurricane walks into a house and drowns everyone, invades a town and sweeps it all away. A hurricane stays like an unwanted guest, leaves like a thief in the night. A hurricane sparks catalytic converters, conducts cars, a ghost orchestra in parking lots, fells trees in a deadly ballet. Hurricanes stalk me from state to state. I have reported hurricanes to the authorities. The authorities comment on my clothes, my poor decisions. A hurricane breathes down my neck. A hurricane is a wolf blowing my door down. The authorities tell me to calm myself. The authorities assure me a hurricane will leave me alone when my climate changes. And I just want to end with this one. It's a little scary and funny. Dear Stephen King, please come to my house. The neighbors across the street are aliens. The wife in a long-sleeved shroud, did I mention this is Florida? Floats in the morning fog. They tore down their house. No, there was no structural damage, and built another house that looks like a spaceship. The roof is a landing pad for UFOs. They are up all night digging. I stay awake and watch them. The porta potty at the end of the property is Pepto-Bismol pink. Nighttime, there is a light show on its peaked roof. Do you know Morse code? I think they are contacting their home planet. People with massage envy stitched on the backs of their white coats make house calls at my neighbors. They are really scientists giving my neighbors humanoid transfusions. Mr. King, I need you here. The wife shovels in electrical storms and never gets struck by lightning. The husband wears bathing trunks and wool sweaters. Did I mention this is Florida? They both wear galoshes that look like Michael Jackson moon boots. Mr. King, something is weird. Sometimes the wife collapses on the lawn and just stays there like a corpse flower. The first time it happened, I almost called the EMTs. I threw out the lemon bars they gave me. Should I have brought them to a lab? Please tell me, what would Stephen King do? Thank you so much.
Yay!
Oh my
All right, that was wonderful.
Thank you.
Absolutely awesome. Thank you, Vicki.
Thank you.
Why don't we, people open up your mics and let's give a nice round of applause to Joe and Vicki for these two fine readings. So, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so I will remind everybody again, one non-epic length poem. And I'm looking at somebody, but you can't tell who I'm looking at. Okay, so Sharon, you're up, and Edna, you're on deck.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. So this one is called a voice speaks along the shore. I live in Brooklyn and I spend a lot of time at Coney Island, and I'm always walking around water. So this is the name of this. It says a voice speaks along the shore. Once upon a time, a beautiful young woman who spent years loving and caring for her children, family, and friends, loved them more than she loved herself. The years just kept going by, and she became a beautiful old woman. And all those she loved moved far away. Family and many friends passed away, leaving her no one around to love. She began taking daily long walks near the water along the shore. Remembering those times throughout the years, she became emotional and Loneliness struck her like lightning. As she approached the rocks that lined up against the shore, she perched herself on a rock. And while she sat there on the rock, a voice came to her, an inner voice, and it said, "Stand up and walk down the rocks so you can see your shadow in the water." And she did. And it said, "Sit here, Sharon, and let the sun kiss you." And it went on to say, "Sharon, loneliness is a friend, but it would never be a friend of yours because you have laughed and loved throughout your years. The sun has kissed you all your life, and you and people like you are the reason it comes out." The voice went on to say, "Remember, you were born alone, and you will die one day, more likely alone. And the sun will shine down on your grave and continue to kiss you." Sharon, it said, "Loneliness is the poverty of self, and solitude is the richness of self."
Thank you very much. Hey, thank you. Okay,
You're
so Edna, you're up, and Bonnie, you're on deck. There's Edna. There's Edna.
Okay. Well, I'm going to read you a poem that was not included in my book that just was published and was written about in the paper. And in that paper, there was a poem that I chose to share with you. Now, late bloomers. When I'm 90, I want to be like you, Grandma Moses. Tiny, lively woman with mischievous eyes and a quick wit, who proved that even late in life, a woman could embark on a new path. When your fingers bowed to arthritis, that uninvited guest who settles in our joints, you traded needle and thread for a paintbrush and rose to fame at 78. I was just 70, confronting a brush with mortality when the road to recovery led me to the portal of poetry that injected into my veins the healing elixir. As I heard Mary Oliver asking, "What is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life?" my response was resolute. I will write verse in the hope that it lends me solace and resonates with those who follow.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. All right. So, Bonnie, you're up, and Larry McCoy, you're on deck.
Hi, all. I met Judy on Zoom during COVID, and I think I saw you too, Tony, at some point, zooming in to some wonderful poetry readings. Anyhow, this is my first time coming to one of these, but I've been on her mailing list forever. This poem was written for.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Yeah. A friend of mine who grew up in Long Beach and sadly passed away. It's called Elegy for Dewey Stone. Last May, Dewey died from diabetes after a slide into dementia. Not fully, just enough to lose nouns, verbs, to ache with the loss. Did I mention his name was not really Dewey? That once, hitchhiking from Buffalo to Woodstock, someone named Louie picked him up, and in the car was another guy named Huey. "I'm Dewey," he said, and then he was. We rolled joints on album jackets, listened to Santana, and watched cartoons. He sang, I got a black magic marker. Did I mention that once when he was away, while I was watching his husky, she darted across the road into an oncoming car? I held her broken body, watched her blue eyes go blank. Didn't Roadrunner take a magic marker out of his invisible pocket and draw a tunnel into a mountain? Is that where the dog is? Are they together with their shining blue eyes? Does he still stop on the sidewalk every time a girl says, beautiful dog? Does he say, yes, I know, her name is Yahweh? I still listen to Santana. If I had a black magic marker, I could block out a portal through time and gravity, someplace between 11:30 and midnight. He called from the hospital. It's fucked up, Dewey said. I cry a little every day. I never asked whether he forgave me for killing his dog. I never wanted to hear him say he did. Did I mention how much we used to laugh? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful, and thank you for joining us. All right. So, Larry, you're up, and Margaret, you're on deck.
I played the sousaphone badly in high school, but enjoyed being in the school band. One reason was Charlie Evanson. Sir Charles played trombone and had a habit of leaning back in his chair on the top riser in the band room. Every couple of months, band practice was interrupted by a racket. We all knew what it was. It was Charlie flat on his back on the floor. I don't recall him ever hurting himself, so it was something we all looked forward to. Every year, the band played at the high school gym when grade school kids showed off their tumbling and other athletic shortcomings. These exhibitions, I thought, were several rungs below agony. One blissful night, when little punks were doing their imitations of somersaults, splits, and whatever, Charlie and I began applauding to show our appreciation of this marvelous spectacle. The rest of the audience joined in. Oh, this was going to be neat. And Charlie and I did it again, and the audience joined in again. Soon we had a visitor, the band director, Mr. Aidan Long. He sat next to us, ending the applause and merriment. Damn. Thank you.
Thank you. As always, wonderful. Thank you, sir. All right, Margaret, you're up, and Mark, you're on deck.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Vicki. This is an older poem called Runways of Great Neck. On our way to the Great Neck Library, we passed crowds of walkers honoring Shabbat. Each face determined in Michael Kors or Kate Spade footprints on Long Island's North Shore. Corners of Old Mill and Middle Neck roads, catwalks of families dressed in Saturday's best. I admire dress pattern lens, lacy trim hats with high-heeled confidence pushing strollers with two or more inside. Satin and velvet yarmulkes match to men and little boy suits. A small Persian girl glances as we pass by, dressed like a porcelain doll my grandmother had. I remember the Amish by my brother's Pennsylvania home, how curiosity draws me to religions unfamiliar and distant. I hope they don't feel uncomfortable while I stare. For a moment, I wish to convert to their stylish shoes and walk their fashionista paths towards God. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Great poem. Thank you, Margaret. Okay, Mark, you're up. Marvin, you're on deck.
Thank you, Tony. I recognize that your thoughts have declared independence from reality, and how that gives you some sovereignty over your surroundings and all that. However, as a sovereign nation of my own, on the solid footing of the ground or concrete or lawn upon which I stand, and rooted in the knowledge that the air I breathe exists as a scientific fact, even though I cannot see it. I too have a boundary that extends to the limit of being able to hear you in person, without the aid of a megaphone or cell phone. So I suggest you withdraw behind this territorial limit, out of hearing range. I have no interest in this Vulcan mind meld you fantasize. Your thoughts to my thoughts. Just because your thoughts flow from your jaws like a broken sewer main and flood the rest of the block. So take a walk, take a bike, take public transit if you have to, just don't take your time. Go plant your flag of independence any place that ain't mine.
Great, thank you. All right, great night. Okay, Mark, so Marvin, you're up, and Robert, you're on deck. Can't hear you, Marvin. You're not muted. I mean, you are muted. You have to unmute.
Am
There
I,
you go.
could you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Yes, sir.
Okay, title is Smitten. She gave me the once over with those green, or were they blue peepers? Maybe both, as they shone through the smoky haze of the bar. What was such a babe doing in this dump? She approached sinuously, with an emphasis on the first syllable. All 5'4" of her was packed with protein. She was hotter than Tabasco, and yet she was sweeter than Manischewitz. I hit the lottery. Finally, about time. I played the game in cheap joints like this and in university clubs, in high rent districts, and always the payoff was almost. What do you drink? She purred. Bloody Mary. Before the drinks took effect, we were walking toward her place. She suggested cocktails when we got there. The word itself, she said, excited her. I pole vaulted all the way to the building. I barely heard the click, click of her heels, trying to keep up. Her apartment was almost as well furnished as she was. She said she was of Romanian or Hungarian background. Her foreground reminded me of the Alps mountains. Climbing became my passion. In her bedroom, the sixth kitten turned out to be an alley cat. Manischewitz disappeared, and she, with hair night black and lips spurting with cherries, was all over me. Heavens, my voluptuous other was in my arms as I, satiated to exhaustion, slept. I awoke with a terrible itching on my neck. When I had rubbed it, I felt liquid on my fingers. Her face was a leering, contorted map of malice. Her eyes were now flames. Her lips were now bloody red. The pain, oh, the pain. Heaven had fallen into deepest hell. And then that laugh, her piercing shriek, echoed off the walls and seared my heart. I stumbled through her bedroom, tripped over a hassock in the living room, and reached the door. The awful laugh followed me. I met Laura 2 months later. She was not Romanian or Hungarian. She didn't have sex stamped all over her, but she was warm and pretty, and warm and pretty. After several dates, she asked me, while watching Lawrence Welk on TV, what was that crazy mark on my neck? The razor slipped, I said. We married a year later.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, sir. Great story. I like that one. Okay, Robert, you're up, and Emily Sue, you're on deck.
Thank you, Tony, and thank you, Joe and Vicki, for those great features. Mr. Gavigan, Ode to a High School Teacher from Long Ago. He'd work up a sweat while teaching us, gliding around as if he were a ballroom dancer, melting our glacial adolescent apathy. He taught U.S. history and civics and current events, We'd often read Time and Newsweek in his class. This being 1962, we'd discuss Cuba and Khrushchev and James Meredith defying a racist governor. He wore black horned rim glasses, teaching with a seriously joyful deadpan urgency, like we really needed to know this stuff, and as if we might have some stimulating fun learning it. A closer look at this memory reveals the red round Lucky Strike logo visible through the pocket of his wrinkled white shirt, his reed thin tie swaying to the bebop beat of his baritone, his chalk snapping notes on the blackboard, his gestures as dramatic and dynamic as a way off Broadway method actor. Nobody screwed around in his classes, but he neither threatened nor intimidated, nor was he a wannabe stand-up comedian. His unquestioned command in a classroom as natural as an MVP quarterback's on a football field. On an essay written by a shy, so-so sophomore with a singular secret ambition to be a writer, Mr. Gavigan wrote, "You have a talent for literary self-expression. One comment that's ignited 60 plus years of motivation." Thanks for listening.
Very nice. Thank you, Robert. Thank you so much. Okay. Emily Sue, you're up, and Joe C, you're on deck.
Okay, thank you, Tony. Sorry to have arrived late, but I'm glad to be here. I'm going to read Throwing Shade. It was published in Wild Roof Journal a few weeks ago. Throwing Shade. A flock of seagulls rises off the pavement, screeching, circling, diving. Crouched beneath the frenzy, hands covering my head, I wait for the storm to pass, for sharp yellow beaks to hush and wings to fold back into silence. But this shimmying earth keeps toppling buildings, spewing searing lava, whipping up wood-splitting winds, flooding us with rivers of rain. I've left prayers on sandy beaches, in muddy footprints, under thinning forest canopies, forfeited sleep to the beat of my worried heart. Scientists now suggest we fashion a parasol for our little blue planet, protection from the sun's burning rays. Clearly, we've moved beyond mere course correction. In the silence of the moon, no rivers run, no sap rises. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. We're cooking right along here. All right. Joe, you're up, and Melinda, you're on deck.
Okay, so this is the Poquat house. Each hammer nail touched by hardworking grandpa and uncles. Each room decorated and cared for by loving grandma and aunts. Its bare wood stairs bore the tread of beloved family members and ourselves. Decorated to suit the tastes of different generations, its rooms have continued to ring with laughter and chatter. 5 generations have been lulled to sleep by the sound of crickets and katydids and the distant train horn in the dark before sleep. The fairy whistle and the noon fire horn mark the hours of the day as time wears deeper grooves into our hearts.
Thank you, Joe. You know, your camera is either your room is filled with smoke, or your camera has cataracts. But I did not see who. I saw Joe C. I didn't realize who you were, so I do apologize, Joe. All right, so Melinda, you're up, and Maggie, you're on deck. There we go.
Hold on one second. Let me get something. Let me
Sure.
get a paper.
That's
I had
okay.
it print out earlier today. You have
That's
to get
okay.
it quick.
Take your time. We're in no rush.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
That's not a problem. Not a problem. Glad you're here with us. I love the lamp in the back there. Okay. While getting ready, just want to remind everybody we have a poetry calendar. So if you're on Long Island and you're involved in poetry, please put your events on the calendar. We'll be publicizing it even more once we get through our construction this month. Very much
So
looking forward to
sorry.
November, December. It's okay.
I'm really sorry. I thought I had it. I put it somewhere. Where did I? Let me see if I
Okay.
could find one.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you do this? Why don't I'll go to the next person and I'll circle back to you. How's that? This way you don't feel rushed and you take your time and we'll get set. How's that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, good.
That's
All
that's
right.
fine with me.
That's wonderful. All right, so Maggie, you're up, and Dee Dee, you're on deck. And then we will come back to Melinda. Maggie, you gotta unmute.
Right. This is a very short poem, but it's very to the point. The
Okay.
cat. That the cat has attitude is undebatable. That the cat has personality unique is without question. That the cat is demanding goes without saying. That the cat lacks opposing thumbs is a biological fact. I win. Take that, cat.
I love it. Thank you, Maggie.
I'll read it again if it was too short.
No. It's like a good speech. There's no such thing as something too short. That was powerful and it was punchy and I loved it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Thank
All right, Dee Dee, you're up, and then we'll see if Melinda is ready. Right now we'll come to our good friend Doreen.
I have to compose myself after that. That was adorable. Oh, hi, Joe and Vicki. So wonderful to hear you both. Thank you. Circus time. Cats dream lionesque dreams. Little boys pretend to tame. Fun ahead, more than clowns themselves. Astonished by clown phobias, I wonder why what's intended to amuse becomes a nightmare, haunting the innocent. There's a lot of that these days. The seemingly innocent turned monster, the innocence twisted into premature sophistication. Naive, they tell me. I reach for simpler times. Theater lights turned up, the end releasing me from temporary terror. Terror, no longer temporary, or luxury we can afford. Take me to old musicals, cartoons, county fairs. A circus will do. I'm not afraid of clowns. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, Melinda, are you ready yet? If not, we got one more person before I can come back to you.
Yeah, we can go to the next person. I'm still looking. I'm so sorry.
It's not a problem. It's not this is not high school. There's no testing here. It's if you have something that's great. If not, we'll get you next time. All right.
Yeah.
So JR, you're up.
Super. Thank you. Thank you, Vicki. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Tony. Oceanside Library for for keeping us in poetry. So cool. So celebrating book number 9, 24 Shades of Purple is 24 poems written in a 24-hour poetry marathon. And I'm actually going to read from Tony's copy because Tony blurbed and Tony survived the 24-hour poetry marathon. And I'm just so proud of him for doing it. So I'm going to ask Joe to play Poetry Roulette, and Joe, pick a number from 1 to 24, and that's what I will read.
Which Joe? I got 2 Joes here.
Joe Cottonwood. Wow, he's a feature Joe Cottonwood. Sorry.
Oh, easy. I'll take number 13.
Okay, then. Number 13. Okay. And show and tell. If you can see the ring on my finger.
Yeah.
That's the subject. Alexandrite. Old gold rose tone setting, scrolls and filigrees from shank to bezel, like hands hugging the gem. Large, deep faceted stone, vibrant purple in evening shade, bluish green in sunlight. I was told the stone was mined in Ecuador. Learned that stones are found not by design, but when mining other stones. Rare, 1 Alexandrite found for 100 emeralds. The first stone found in Russia's Ural Mountains in 1830 on Prince Alexander II's birthday, later named for him. June's birthstone, precious keepsake believed to bring good fortune and love. I cherish this ring even more, a gift from a friend who had said he had a gift for me if I promised to wear it, and I did, and I do every day. A jeweler told me a stone of this size could be worth $10,000 or more. I gasped, but it doesn't matter. This stone, like found friends, kept safe, both the gift and the giver, priceless to me. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. Melinda, just real quick, do you have something yet? If not, we're going to finish up.
Hold on. Hold on 1 second. If I swear
Okay.
I thought I saw it somewhere. Let's see. It's not a written one, but I'm trying to see. I found one from a book.
Okay.
A book. Let me see if hopefully I could find it in time. I'm hoping I could. This is
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to be back in a couple of weeks, and I hope you can join us. And if you find that, then we'll be happy to have you read that one then. Is that okay?
yeah.
It's
I'm
okay.
really sorry.
You don't have to apologize at all. It's not a problem. It's not a problem. We're going to look forward to it though. Now I got something to really look forward to in 2 weeks. So, all right. So I'll finish up here with an older poem of mine, and then we'll call it an evening. So, off West 4th Street. There's a sex shop off West 4th Street in the heart of the village. Pink neon boarded windows, red lingerie clad mannequins, and set in a sea of toys and DVDs. As a teenager, I ventured to Times Square back before Rudy cleaned it up, back when we dodged the hustlers and the homeless, the grifters and the whores. Back before Rudy cleaned it up, we innocents from suburbia safaried to Manhattan, force marched our way from the Christmas displays at Rockefeller Center to the relative safety of Penn Station, passing dozens of peep shows and porn arcades. We'd risk only side glances at the displays, certain that the shame we felt from the electric charge of the forbidden would still mark us at the family table. There's a sex shop off West 4th Street, 3 doors down from the Papaya Dog, but the only thing forbidden to me now is the hot dog I sneak, sauerkraut and red onions. There's a sex shop off West 4th Street. Today I look at its windows without fear or temptation. And the only curiosity I can muster is how, with all the internet competition, can this little storefront business possibly afford to pay a New York City rent?
Oh, what is that? Is this your own poem that you written yourself?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
All right, everybody. Listen, thank you so much, Joe. Thank you so much, Vicki. As always, thank you very much. It's wonderful having you all here tonight. We look forward to having you here again in a couple of weeks. And until then, everybody stay safe and maybe write some. Thank you.
Thank you.
oh, are you gonna have it twice a month?
Yes, ma'am. Yep. We have another 2 weeks.
Have a nice
Okay,
Right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
great,
Bye-bye.
no problem. I pray to God
Joe
that I
from
can find the poems.
Okay.
I've been
Joe from Laonda.
Very good.
Thank you all.